Hi guys, welcome to the Art of Healing podcast. I'm your host Pearls,
And I'm Paris.
and today we're going to be talking about procrastination and what it really is.
But before we get into that, let's just ground ourselves. So we're going to take some deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth 3 times. If you can and it's safe to do so, close down your eyes, relax the body, and let's just get into it. So we're going to start nice and slow. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. And again, tuning into the body. Inhale and exhale. Last one, really breathe it into the belly. Inhale and let go. Fantastic. Come back into the room, open your eyes if they're closed, and let's get into today's podcast. So today we are talking about procrastination. And I think the first thing to maybe address is exactly what procrastination is, at least in nervous system regulation terms, because I think the common misconception, which we both spent most of our lives believing, is that procrastination equals I'm lazy, when that isn't the case. What procrastination actually is, it's a stress response to your body being overwhelmed. So when we speak about stress responses, the typical 4 are freeze, fight, flight, or fawn. In this case, procrastination lies in the freeze response. And what actually is happening is when you go to do a task, let's say I'm going to look at my to-do list and I've just started the day and I look at it, and instead of doing it, I decide to go and watch TV. What is happening is actually I'm not being lazy. My body is overwhelmed already because it's full of stress, cortisol and adrenaline that is. And the thought of doing these tasks is adding to the stress and to the problem. So the body responds by stopping you. And this shows up in a lot of ways with procrastination as a whole, right?
Yeah. So a lot of the time, if your nervous system is already dysregulated, the task. Wait, no, let me go again. What is the last thing you said?
It shows up in a lot of ways.
Yeah, for example, this is the second time I'm recording this podcast because the first recording, I went into freeze state and I just felt a little bit overwhelmed doing it. We'll enter a picture here of what my face looked like when I went into freeze state.
If you're watching this on YouTube, that
if you're watching this on YouTube. But it happened because, at the minute where we have a very big list of a lot of things to do, we're off next week. So we're recording extra content this week. We have so many people to get back to and there is a lot of tasks to do. It's very overwhelming. Obviously, I'm a little bit run down as well. So I feel quite tired and a little bit stressed.
You're doing great.
And thank you. And a little bit overwhelmed. And that showed up in my life today as just going into freeze. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing right now, even though I know what I'm doing because this is what we do.
Yeah. We do this every week. But like you said, it's more a matter of we've doubled or if not tripled our workload this week. On top of that, we accidentally went viral on YouTube and on TikTok. And there's been just a lot of work going on in the background, and we're kind of stressing to get it all done by today, and we're just starting. So what happened when we started recording it is we found it quite difficult to do something that we've obviously done before, because this is our 7th episode now. And
this isn't even our first podcast, so it comes quite naturally to us, but just in that moment I was like, oh my gosh.
And but this is the thing, obviously, knowing what you know now, we realized that, okay, cool, you're going into freeze. And actually what I did is I was like, let's go just have a walk and stop talking about this and trying to do the podcast, because your initial reaction was, no, let's just do it, it's fine. And I was like, no, come on, stop the recording, let's go out. Because that's the thing, when you're in a stress response, you're not thinking correctly because your body's thinking about what? Survival, right?
Yeah.
So me not being in the same state as you, I was able to recognize, hey, you've not moved for 5 minutes. Let me help you out here. Let's stop doing this. Let's address how you're feeling, and then let's give your body what it needs. So of course I asked you. You said, hey, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I asked you, okay, where's the overwhelm coming from? You said, this. And I was like, right, let's forget about this. Let's go for a walk. And then we've done that and come back, and here we are doing the task. Whereas in the past, that would have happened, and you would have just kind of probably avoided doing the thing altogether, not realize maybe you were feeling that way.
Or done a different task, because sometimes we do that. Sometimes we hop from task to task because we're thinking, oh, okay, this one's a little bit too stressful. I've got a big to-do list. Maybe I'll just do something else instead to get the satisfaction and the dopamine hit of completing a task. But instead, in this scenario, I was just frozen.
Yeah, and I think that's multitasking is not productive. Multitasking is avoidance. Shall I say it again? Multitasking is not productive. It's avoidance. Often what happens is we do the bigger task, the more stressful one, of course, that triggers more of a response in us. Our body starts reacting by pumping cortisol and adrenaline in our body. And to avoid then having to do that task, like you said, we choose a smaller task, one that's a little bit easier. That might look like something else on the to-do list, or it can even look like, I don't know, picking up your phone and checking the notifications, going on social media. Maybe you turn on Netflix for a bit. If you're a gamer, maybe you start playing video games. The list goes on of things that happens because when you procrastinate, it causes you to either delay the action, to disengage completely, or to avoid it. And this can happen subconsciously. So you don't even realize that you're taking the wrong action until the feelings start catching up with you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And the feelings that, you know, I guess you feel at times are like guilt, anything else.
That you don't feel adequate enough to do the task, or you don't feel worthy enough of the task that you're doing. So a lot of the time we just kind of shy away from it. I'm quite guilty of doing this, actually. I'm quite guilty of having like 50 tabs open at once, trying to complete one task, feeling overwhelmed by it, and then finding another task on the list to do, and then just jumping around from task to task. So yes, I have on Trello 100 tasks that I have not completed. Obviously, this is something that we're working with, and I'm getting better at it.
Much better
from regulating my nervous system and, you know, using the practices that we know, but it still shows up, you know. But yeah, it's just jumping around to try and find and do the task. And a lot of the time, even if we're able to do the other task, what we're doing it under a state of stress. Whereas like today, what we did, obviously we went for a walk. That was quite regulating. We went into a little bit of nature that's near us. Took Nisa out for a little walk as well, and just spent some time in nature, and then thought, cool, let's come back, let's start. And I feel a lot more regulated now, whereas like in the past, I just thought, no, I need to get this done. Let me find something. And I'm like frantically thinking, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And then still not being productive at all. And then feeling really tired and being like, I think I need a nap now. And then having a nap, because what happens? The cortisol comes down, the adrenaline comes down, and you crash.
Yeah, because that's what's fueling the energy that you think that you have. And all of a sudden, when the body comes out of the stress response, aka it stops pumping you full of that stuff, you crash, because like you said, it's like, boom, that's gone. Time to stop.
Yeah.
And also what happens in the process, when you're in the stress response anyway, one of the reasons that you may feel that you're lazy, air quotes, if you can't see me do that, is that your body is using energy to focus on the threat that's at hand, rather than you doing the task or tasks that you want to do. It's using energy trying to keep you alive.
Yeah.
Because to the body, when you're in a state of stress, aka survival mode, it does not know the difference between the perceived threat and the physical threat. It thinks the two are the same.
Just goes danger,
danger, alert. So yes, rationally, okay, me going to take the rubbish out and put it in the bin isn't going to hurt me. But if I'm stressed, the body literally associates the perceived threat as a physical one. So it doesn't know the difference. This is where we have to come in and let the body know that, hey, this task is fine. I am able to do it. It's not overwhelming. It's safe to do it. We're not in danger. The body needs to be reassured sometimes. Think of the body, we always say this, like a child. It doesn't, it's very advanced and very wise, but at times it takes things literally. And when it takes things literally, like your boss shouting at you, again, that triggers a stress response where your body says, we're in danger. Something's going to happen. We need to fight, run away, or shout back at them. The reality is you're not in danger at all. Okay, your boss might be a D-head, but like, you don't need to respond in a way that it's actually, this is going to cause me harm, right? But the body, again, doesn't realize this. So it's about, like what we did, recognizing when you're in these responses and giving the body what it needs so it can complete the stress response cycle, come back into safety, and then you can take and tackle the task. Because, you know, that's how it ideally works. The problem is we're chronically stuck in a state of stress. So we try and push through it, get through it as quickly as possible, work harder, more pain, more gain, and all this. And it's just like, you're just going to be burnt out at the end of the day and not feel great about yourself. It's not the way.
Yeah. And I think as well, like, you know, if you're somebody that procrastinates a lot, I feel like as well, you know, people, I think a lot of the time we, like you were saying at the beginning, you know, laziness is associated with procrastination. I feel like something that I always think is I'm actually not a lazy person.
Right.
So if I'm procrastinating, then it's a sign that I'm overwhelmed.
Yes.
And when I realized that, it's like, oh, actually, yes, that's actually absolutely true. Because if you think about like when you have uni assignments to do, right? And I feel like everyone's probably done this at some point, is you leave it to like the last day.
I put my hand up.
Literally done that so many times.
Yeah.
But somehow you still complete it. And it's because you've left it, you felt overwhelmed about doing it to start with.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, I've got 20 hours to complete this and submit it. Then you get this like surge of like, oh my God.
Cortisol and adrenaline.
Literally going through the roof. And then your response is, well, I can absolutely do it. And a lot of the time we think, oh, so I can work really well under pressure. No, you can work really well when you're stressed.
That was my label. I work really good under pressure. I'm like a diamond.
Yeah, literally. And the thing is, I feel like in like, especially in the age that we've grown up, that's like something that you would wear as a badge of honor. It's like something that we've been conditioned to think like, being able to work under pressure is great. And which it is, but not in that scenario. You're not working under pressure there. I mean, technically you are, but it's pressure that you put on yourself. It's not like a pressureful situation.
It's unnecessary pressure.
Exactly.
The idea of working under pressure is being able to be resilient when pressure arises, not seeking it to be able to perform, right?
Yeah. So, you know, that's a prime example of like feeling overwhelmed, leaving it to the last minute, and then smashing out. And then also as well, if you end up doing well, you reward yourself with that behavior. So you think, oh, well, I can do it last minute. And then it just fuels that like cycle, which, you know, all it's doing is adding to the stress cycle. It's like a deadly 100%. Vicious cycle of procrastination. Yeah. Because you think, oh, well, I can leave it last minute. My brother's guilty of this. I've done it so many times. And because my younger brother, he literally will leave everything to the last minute when he was at uni. He's just finished uni this year. But he would do very, very well. Like, I think for A-level maths, he literally like studied like a week or two before, like the entire year. He hadn't done anything. And he came out with like an A star or something. So in his head, he's like, "Oh well, I don't. Well, I can leave it last minute." And then obviously
it does work. This is the thing. This is the problem. It's a double-edged sword. It does work.
Yeah. So then you're rewarded with the doing well or like the completion of the task. You get that dopamine hit, so it just rewards that cycle. But realistically, you know, there was one time that I did actually do my assignment beforehand because I was actually really excited to do it, and actually I felt so much calmer.
And this is the thing.
And funnily enough, actually, it was the one that I got the best grade in out of all the other ones. But I started it actually probably like within the week I got it and slowly did it bit by bit because I was like managing how I was feeling and I was, you know, moving from a place of like excitement
rather than rushing, resistance. And but this is the argument, right? Hustle culture, hustle bros, what they say, it does work. The harder you work, you can get results from it. You can get to the top. You can create the business, do all the things and have everything that you want. But guess what? It isn't going to feel good doing it.
No.
And you can do it from a place of ease rather than from a place of force. So when you have two paths, do you want it to be the hard one or the easy one? Because they both get you to the same destination. It's just that society has taught us that, oh yeah, I've got to like wear this badge of honor that he said of like, I've worked really hard and I've had to sacrifice my happiness and my joy and my well-being to like get to where I am. It's taken me 10 years to get here. I've lost all my friends in the process and no one likes me, but hey, I made it and it's worth it.
Yeah.
And it's like, huh? Who's told us this lie?
Well, I think it's I think the people who want us to work hard, but also like our parents' generation was conditioned this way. So that's what I was saying earlier on. Like we've been conditioned in society this way a little bit. So it's been conditioned onto us, or like it's trickled down to us at least. And now we're breaking the cycles by being like, actually, I don't really want to work that way. I don't want to work under stress. I don't want to do anything under duress. I want to do it in flow. I want to do it like at a nice, comfortable pace that's not going to be detrimental to my health.
And when you start making that change, how amazing does it feel?
Yeah.
Because not only are you getting everything that you want to do done, you're enjoying it too.
Yeah.
And then you realize that, hey, the way I was doing it before didn't feel good.
Yeah.
Is the best way I can put it, really. It didn't feel good. And that's like part of the nervous system work that we do. It's learning and tuning into your body about what feels good and what doesn't, and leading with what feels good.
Yeah.
Because whatever doesn't feel good is your body's way of saying like, hey, this isn't right for you.
Yeah, essentially. And I think as well, like a lot of the time, like when you're going to start a task or even when you're doing a task and you're starting to feel overwhelmed, it's good to check in with yourself and see, hang on, how do I feel right now? Why am I wanting to pick up my phone? Why am I wanting to go and do a task that's completely unrelated to the current task that I'm doing? And once you realize that, it makes it a lot easier to break that cycle and also have the conversation with yourself, start regulating yourself to be able to be like, actually, I can do this task. And sometimes it's as simple as just needing to take more breaks.
Yeah.
Because we're stressing or we've been working for X amount of time and we've hit a wall. And because we used to do this a lot. We used to always push through. And something that we've learned, especially like this past year, is you don't have to work hard all the time or even for a long period of time. You can actually work better in short periods and just take regular breaks. because you're going to get more out of it.
Yeah.
Working for a long period does not equal good work.
Yeah,
or,
definitely.
or working efficiently. It just
doesn't.
means working for a long time.
You don't need to work. Like, what's the rush?
Exactly.
And again, we're going to say it every single time we get the chance, but what does rushing signal to the nervous system? It signals danger.
Yeah.
The only time that your body rushes in nature is when it's under threat. So when you are moving, when you are rushing, when you are forcing, when you are trying to hurry, you're telling your nervous system that you're in danger. So your nervous system response is to put you either into fight, freeze, or fawn. It's going to pump you full of cortisol. It's going to pump you full of adrenaline. And initially, getting off the mark to start the task, this is a natural response that actually gets you going. But you don't want that to be fueling the work that you're doing, because it's not coming from a place of ease. I think something that I used to do, or how procrastination used to show up for me quite a lot, is I would wait until everything fell apart, and then I would make drastic changes in my life and try and do it all at once.
I see.
and so say my goal was like top of the mountain, I would go from the bottom of the mountain and try and do it in one leap. And it worked really great. It'd feel really great for a week. I'd change all my habits, change my diet, change my way of doing things. And it's like, oh my God, this is all working. This is great. I'm really getting
And I was like, hey,
progress.
what's that over there? It's burnout.
And then my body would just go, freeze state. And how would that show up? Well, it would show up as burnout. Suddenly, oh my God, I can't be asked to do anything. Oh my God, I'm back to all my old habits. Oh my God, I can't manage any of this stuff, and I don't know why, because last week I was doing so good, and now this. Oh, it must be because I'm lazy.
And before you know it, you're in bed with like 10 packets of Doritos, M&Ms, and Netflix on your phone.
Honestly, this was my life, and now, outside looking in, it's like, Paris, what was you doing? But I didn't know any better. But now I realize,
okay.
yeah, and this is the thing, it's okay. But now I realize that, hey, the best way to manage procrastination sometimes is to break the task down into the smallest steps possible, because what we do, in my case, and I imagine this is the same for most people, is we try to get from point A to B in one step, one giant leap for mankind. Where I tell you this for fun, that small steps consistently made every day will get you to the goal too. And again, it feels better. You don't need to rush to get there. You don't need to make the massive leaps. You need to be consistent. You also need it to be easy for you, and you need it to be sustainable more than anything. If what you're doing is not sustainable, you will eventually burn out. Whether or not you tell yourself that you won't, you will. This is why so many people have the symptoms of burnout. This is why so many people are exhausted, because they're trying to force their way through life without stopping. So like one step you can take is towards not procrastinating, or to alleviate it from showing up in your life, is just break down whatever it is you're doing into smaller tasks. And then what I also like to do when it comes to actually doing the task itself, I highly recommend this book. I read this years ago. Mel Robbins' 5 seconds rule.
Oh, I love her.
The concept of the book is basically, whenever you decide to do said task to overcome procrastination, count from 5 to 1, and then when you get to 0, take the action and do the task. Because what happens in that process of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is you are breaking the thoughts that would come into your head either. So let's just say, for example, all right, what's next on my to-do list? All right, I need to clean up the house. So I've had the thought, clean up the house, and then the next thought is, oh, I can't be asked, or oh, I'll do it later. Or as I'm thinking, as I've said that, I've still got my phone in my hands. I'm like, oh yeah, I will do that, but in 5 minutes, let me just check Instagram again. Or actually, all these thoughts start coming into your head, and this is what leads to the procrastination, because the task doesn't feel or sound that delightful. So your body's like, let's find some dopamine elsewhere, right? So to break that cycle, those thoughts that start creeping in, yes, this is the task I'm going to do. Count down from 5. And then when you get to the end, do the task. And that's how you can stop procrastination before it even arises.
So that's the tip for before you start a task.
Yes.
So we've got 2 tips for you this week. So the second tip, this is something that I use, is because obviously the issue that I have a lot of the time is actually not starting the task. It's starting and stopping once I've started the task. So I'll start, but do it a lot. So something that I do quite a lot is, one, when I feel like stopping, take a deep breath, ask myself what's happening. It's like, oh, okay, I feel a little bit overwhelmed with this task. Tell myself it's okay. And then tell myself I'm going to continue the task for 5 more minutes before I want to pick my phone up, or before I want to go into the kitchen and get a snack or do something else. And then for that next 5 minutes, obviously continue the task and tell yourself, oh, I'll do it in 5 minutes. And as you create this habit of telling yourself you're going to do something in 5 minutes, you've done 2 things. One, you've regulated yourself by taking a deep breath, checking in with yourself, telling yourself and self-soothing yourself that it's okay. You're not in a dangerous situation. We're just doing X, Y, Z. And then 2, you're continuing the flow of work by saying, hang on a second, I'm not going to break this flow of work by doing something else. I'm going to do it for 5 more minutes. And usually by doing it for 5 more minutes, I'm regulating at the start, you've continued the cycle of flow and you're carrying on the task. And before you know it, you'll have completed the task. Obviously, this is a muscle. You've got to exercise it. The same with procrastination is actually kind of like a muscle, because it's like you do it all the time and you get better and better at it because you're getting rewarded for procrastinating. The same it is the other way. The more that you break that cycle, the more that you regulate yourself, you get stronger and stronger at it, and you're building that capacity within yourself to complete the task and continue the task as well. So those are the 2 tips that we have for you this week.
Yeah, because that's how it is. Everything that you do in life is a habit.
Yeah.
Good or bad, it's an action that you're choosing to do repetitively, to the point where when it becomes a habit, I guess it's subconscious, but we can change these habits.
Yeah.
We can form new ones. To do so, we have to work with the mind, but also the body, in order to make it stick. Otherwise, what will happen is we'll just revert back to old ways. And part of the process of doing that is, of course, letting the body know that it's safe, reminding the body that it's safe, recognizing when the stress responses are coming up, and giving the body what it needs so that we can expand our comfort zone and not be overwhelmed, not get exhausted, not fall into procrastination. And also just be kind on yourself, because I promise you, you're probably hearing this and you will start implementing these tips. If you do, they will start changing your life. They are amazing. But I'll be honest with you, you're not going to be perfect at it. Neither are we. Sometimes I literally doom scroll for hours on my phone when I should be doing work. Sometimes we watch TV. Sometimes we binge watch our favorite. Honestly,
it's normal.
Yes, it's normal. You stop.
Give yourself
We're
grace.
not machines. We're not always going to hit everything 100%. Don't feel bad with the times where you do procrastinate, because that's something that, coming from my own experience, I did. I still do sometimes, but I catch myself now much better. Is that I'd procrastinate and then I'd tell myself off for it, and that just makes it worse. That's putting you more into stress. The reality is, give yourself grace. Don't try and be a perfectionist. Maybe that will be a podcast soon. And just, let yourself know that you're human. Remind yourself that you're human, and you got this.
Yeah, and this doesn't extend to like work or studying. It extends beyond that. Whether you're wanting to chase your dreams, whether you wanted to go for that dream job, maybe you want to start a new hobby, whatever it is, just remember, you can do it. You've got this.
Yeah.
And it's a process.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure. We will be back next week with another episode. But until then, ciao for now.
Ciao.